Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today I'm getting into my to pull or not to pull for the new Yuffie banner. Just a quick heads up, if you guys are looking for a guild for the next Guild War, Odin and Kujata in the Curseborn Alliance are both recruiting, so reach out into our Discord, send me a DM, whatever you want to do, and we can get you into the guild before the coming Guild War. Alright, so that being said, let's go over to the new featured draw for Yuffie. This one's kind of an interesting one, guys. I honestly don't really know how I feel about this. We've had two magic lightning banners in a row right before a physical lightning guild war, and I feel like physical lightning is kind of a neglected aspect. We've really only had the Murasame weapon for Cloud, which was the kind of launch weapon of the game, and then after that we got Zack's Zinogre Blade, right, with the Monster Hunter crossover, but that was last year in, I want to say, May, which I think is probably when the next crossover is coming. There is a live stream, from what I've heard, on April 22nd, so I think that would be, you know, 6 days from now, maybe like the day before the next patch update, something like that. I'll be covering it. Just, I know there's going to be something cool. They're going to announce a crossover, a new character. I don't know. Live streams don't really happen that often in Ever Crisis, so I'm pretty excited to see what's been going on. Also, I've been working so hard on the books recently that it's like, it's nice to have something to really look forward to. So I'm super excited about that. Now, where were we? I think I went off on a tangent there. Anyways, we have Yuffie's new banner right here. Let's first check out the animation, right? That's normally how we, so here it is. It is pretty sick. I think it is AoE. And let's go here. Let's try on the costume before we take a look at everything. Honestly, I think she looks really good. But I just think that we kind of have something, I guess we don't have something super similar to this. I guess Yuffie doesn't have an Easter costume. I feel like she does. I don't know. I think I'm getting her confused with her diner tray, but I don't think that was Easter. I think that was Valentine's Day. I can't even remember, guys. I can't even remember. Just blow me up in the comments. All right, so honestly, I think it's cool. I like the watch. I mean, normally I'm not really a fan of weapons becoming things that would never be weapons. But I actually kind of like the giant, like, hand watch. You know, kind of, here it is. And everything recently has been, like, of the hunt. Blade of the hunt, watch of the hunt, spear of the hunt, even though I'm not sure if that one's in there. But so I guess that's, like, the theme of the day right now. Overall, I think the costume is pretty good. My thing with Yuffie is that I don't have her weakness exploit weapon. I feel like weakness exploit weapons have been, up until Zack, confined to limited weapons. I think they need to have some weakness exploit weapons that start to come out more for other characters that, you know, are not limited, so that players can start to build them up. But Yuffie is a character that I'm missing the weakness exploit for, so as a DPS, I'm not like as focused on her as I would be on other characters, but because I do think that is like a pretty essential aspect of the of a kit these days, especially for DPS. But if we go in here and we look at the costume, all right, so kind of an interesting one. I feel like this whole banner just kind of threw me for a loop, to be honest. I'm still trying to like wrap my head around where this banner went and where the Sid and Lucia banner went, and how I feel like certain things could have been kind of interchanged that would have made more sense based on the class system that was brought into this game. But here we have Bunny Apron, Physical and Magic Ward. So Physical and Magic Defense plus 15%, always a great R ability. I always love to see this R ability. If I get a costume with this on it, I typically, you know, think it's pretty great. I think it is a great R ability. The second one here, super interesting, Ribbon Rabbit Ears. All right, when granting physical attack down, max potency tier plus 1 only affects max tier. So essentially this is the same as Angeal's anniversary costume, except his adds 1 tier of physical defense, whereas Yuffie's adds 1 tier of physical attack down. Now, you know, just comparing them right off the bat, physical attack, physical defense up, I do think that buffs are better in general because, you know, there's no immunity for buffs. Like, you can cast it at any point in time. There's no boss where you just can't use it unless, for example, if it's physical defense up and the boss is magic only, right? You would never use it. But, you know, there are bosses that still use physical attacks, like Ifrit, right? That is immune to physical attack down at the same time. So right off the bat, I think the debuff is just not as powerful as the buff itself. Not to say that it's not going to have its moments for sure. I think it definitely will. And for me, I'm pretty on the fence for the banner, but it's literally just for the costume. But I keep on trying to convince myself when this might be worth it. Like Yuffie is like a main class DPS now, but it looks like she's like straying into support slash breaker, right? Because now with this weapon, right, she has physical defense up, right? Physical defense up to the party, 70% HP or more, although it's low to mid beneath OB6 and mid to high OB6 to OB10. So if we take this weapon and we compare it, actually first we're going to look at all the summons, all right? And we're going to see what exactly is immune to physical attack down. All right, we can basically see how often this is going to work. All right, so Ifrit is immune to physical attack down right here, right? He does use physical attack. So Angeal's costume would work here, but Yuffie's would not. Shiva right here, I believe, only does magic attacks, even though she is not immune to physical attack down. I'm almost positive Shiva is only magic. All right, so both of them would be useless. I'm pretty sure Ramu is also only magic, but he's not immune to physical attack down. We have Leviathan here, and I'm just looking at these. I know there's a ton of more bosses in the game, guys, but I feel like this just gives us an overall kind of just look at it. All right, so Leviathan, physical attack down, he is immune to it, but he does use physical attacks, I believe. Or are they only magic? I think actually he's mostly magic now that I think about it. Alright, so we go to Titan, who's also immune to physical attack down. Okay. Odin, which I believe is not immune to physical attack down. He's not, but he does use many wind element physical abilities, and he is immune to magic attack down. And then last but not least, we have Bahamut, who is not immune to physical attack down. So, you know, roughly 25% of bosses are going to be immune to it, or so, I would say. So it's kind of hard to kind of like see the value of it right now, especially with how weak the weapon is, which is interesting to me that they made the weapon that weak. So if we go to Yuffie's kit right here, all right, and we take a look at her other weapon that can raise defenses, right? So Bahamut Cutter, okay, this does, you know, 974% physical non-elemental damage, so it still has, you know, the damage of a DPS, right? If you have it at OB10, it's doing, I was about to say 650, 1080%. Oh, it actually is mid to high also on the magic defense right here. I thought this was high on the first cast. So it's pretty much the same right here. This is a limited weapon, so it does have physical attack all, etc., etc. So this would be like the other half of her kit, right? Where she's getting, where she has magic defense all on that weapon for the party, and now physical defense all, on this weapon for the party. It's just kind of a little bit strange, I would say. Like I said, guys, I'm curious what you guys think. So, you know, if you guys think that this is like so OP, must have, definitely share why, you know, so that we can all talk about it and the rest of the people in the community can see. So let's just take a look at the weapon, right? So we've looked at the costume itself, which I think is, you know, pretty awesome. This is going to be really helpful for this weapon in general. But I will say, guys, before I move on, that I'm definitely not pulling this banner right now. I'm going to wait until the Guild War, right? Because I'm guessing they're going to, you know, release some type of new physical lightning character, right? And like, I didn't really get to build Zinogre Blade with Zac. I have Cloud with Murasame, whom I've used to clear lightning physical content in the game since the beginning. I've only ever used Lightning Cloud, right? I had Zac, I have his Arcanum, I just only ever got the Zinogre Blade to OB4, and then I didn't want to put parts into it because I knew I would never get it to OB10. So I've been just waiting for a new physical lightning character, which I'm pretty sure is going to be dropping next week on Wednesday. So either way, next week on Wednesday, My plan is to see what drops and then basically compare the Sid banner, the Yuffie banner, and that banner and see where I want to go. Like, my enjoyment that I have in the game is mostly playing Guild War. I like other forms of content for sure, but Guild War is like where my heart's at in the game. It's the team community, it's the vibe, it's the camaraderie, it's a lot of fun, you know? So that's like most of the time what I'm saving my crystals for is for Guild War. So I'm gonna wait a week and see. You know, the costume is is alluring to me, more alluring than the Sid or Lucia stuff. I'm not sure if those Arcanums are as valuable to me as having something like this with the physical attack down, because it is definitely interesting. And I like the fact that this would kind of complete her kit, right? Because she has a magic defense all in one weapon and now a physical defense all in another weapon. So that being said, let's take a look at the weapon. Now, the thing I like more about the other weapon is that it's non-elemental and it raises the damage of the team. Now, I will say that for Yuffie's Bahamut Cutter, guys, since it launched at the 1-year anniversary, I think I've only used it twice against 2 battles ever. One of them is Genova Birth, right? So she's great in that battle. The other one, I can't even remember what it was. So who's to say how often this is really going to be used? Like, when is Yuffie going to be depended on for physical defense up, right? When most of the time, if we need that, we can slot that from another character, right? You know, Angeal can take care of it, Aerith can take care of it, Red 13 cannot take care of it, Matt can take care of it, you know, so Barrett can take care of it. There's a lot of characters that can do it, right? So, you know, the time where you actually need Yuffie to be doing this while doing this, you know, pretty mediocre amount of lightning damage, right? Even at OB10, 540%, and this is not an Arcanum costume, guys. So she's not getting some big boost here. So you're basically bringing her as a certified breaker with this weapon that is reinforcing your defense, which does not play to her kit as a DPS, as a main tier DPS whatsoever, in my opinion. So honestly, I don't think the banner or the costume really fit her. I feel like, you know, this should have went to Sid or Lucia as supporters. I feel like that would have just made so much more sense in the game. Putting it on Yuffie, like, I'm like, wow, this is cool, but why? You know, so that's kind of how I feel. So let's take a look at this weapon at OB1, magic attack 396, 390% magic lightning damage, so a whooping amount right there. We get the physical attack break low to mid, right? But then when you cast it again, it'll go up a tier, so it will go low to high on the second cast, right? So that part is good. With the costumes, you can get low to high on 2 casts, although I still think like we're at the point where we don't necessarily need all these mid to high buff effects. I think some of these can be high. I mean, Aerith has a imperil, like Terra's sword or Terra's blade, right? Does a triple imperil AoE high on the first cast at OB6, right? So like that's the extent of some of the weapons we have, and then some of them are like still low to mid, mid to high, and I'm just like, feels like we're kind of dragging our feet a little bit. But this one I can kind of understand why it is the way that it is. So here, physical attack low to mid, duration 22 seconds. When HP is 70% or more, physical defense is increased low to mid. Then we have our abilities: HP over magic ability potency, circle sigil boost, and double magic attack boost. Then we have Watch of the Hunt, 622 magic attack. Alright, so, or not Watch of the Hunt, OB6 Watch of the Hunt. Alright, so we're going to go from 390% magic lightning damage to, ladies and gentlemen, 480% magic lightning damage. Range all enemies. Alright, so super interesting. I need a magic lightning character. I don't think that this is it. I definitely don't think that this is it. If she had the Arcanum, maybe, and if the damage was like, you know, 200% more at OB10, like 740% magic lightning damage, AoE, with the physical attack break and the physical defense, like, bam, let's go. But I think it's a little bit on the weaker side. So OB6, 622 magic attack, physical attack is decreased mid to high, so it'll go mid to 4 tier, so super high, right? Which is definitely solid. Super good breaker right here, like easily the best physical attack breaker in the game as of now. The question is, how often do we need that? How often do we really need a full physical attack break where we can use a super high physical defense buff, right? Are we going to need a super high physical defense buff and a super high physical attack break? If we do, it's probably going to be on one boss, right? The question is how often, right? How often is this going to come in handy? All right, and then we have, you know, HP 70% or more, physical defense mid to high. Definitely, it's just a support. You're probably rarely going to be using this as a main, you know, like the Genova Birth is just the only one I can think of where her other weapon really comes in handy for that. All right, and then we have OB10, 679. So actually fairly strong on the base magic attack stat. 540%, like I said, definitely a little weak. And then you still get at OB10 mid to high, which is basically mid to super high. We get 62 over 39 magic ability potency. So the R abilities here, pretty solid HP over magic ability potency. 62 over 39, I could see this being really useful, like a long-term wish list weapon that when you finally get built, it's definitely going to have its time. But, you know, we're not really looking at super strong sub-weapons when we're talking about pulling on banners right away, because most people are not going to get this to OB10, you know, probably for a while. Most people. I know some people will, but yeah. So anyways, guys, that's kind of like my take on the banner. As of right now, like, truthfully, I just feel like it doesn't quite fit Yuffie, really, and that part about it confuses me. It doesn't really kind of fit the DPS class that they've built for her. I feel like this was a wasted opportunity to empower one of the other supporters, like Lucia. This would have been great for Lucia. I know she already has a magic lightning weapon, but I feel like this would have been, you know, pretty great for her, and then given her some other type of R abilities on it. But it is what it is, guys. So like I said, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to wait until next week on Wednesday when the Guild War officially starts, and then I'm going to compare the Sid banner, the Yuffie banner, and the banner for Guild War, and just kind of make my choices from there. So as I do, I will definitely keep you guys posted with what I'm planning on doing. And yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on this banner or anything, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We can chat about it. Other people in the community can read about it. And if you are looking for a guild, you know, a stronger guild, more competitive, Odin is recruiting. Like I said, they were ranked 16 in the last war. And Kujata is looking for one player as well. They are, I believe, in the top 50. All right, guys, so that being said, I'm going to bring this video to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.